Hey there, everybody. Matt Carter here.
And Jessica Carter.
This video is our first reaction to the Killing Eve Season 3 trailer. Excited to talk about Killing Eve on the channel?
I can't wait. I have been so excited for this to come back. This is one of the absolute best shows on the air right now.
Yeah, we've never really talked about it on the channel before. I think it's gonna be, well, it's gonna be fun in like a demented sort of way. Like, I have made it no secret that Hannibal is one of my favorite shows.
Very good.
Killing Eve, it's got a lot of Hannibal in it and a lot of other really crazy things thrown in.
Oh, yeah.
We'll go through some of what we saw in the trailer. Spoiler alert, there's some real clowning around that happens in this trailer. That's right. Why not throw out the clown puns? But there's a couple other things we'll get to as well. Before we dive in, though, if you guys do like this video, be sure to give us a like, subscribe to the channel, and ring that notification bell. We will have a lot of Killing Eve coverage coming up throughout the season. First order of business, though, originally this was going to premiere in late April.
Yep.
However, I think due to a combination of the fact that The Walking Dead isn't going to be able to finish its season on time and kind of everything going on, I think they realized that it's good to have distractions. It's now premiering on April 12th, so it's going to be a very busy weekend when we get around to all of that.
Very soon, much sooner, 2 weeks sooner. Very, very happy about this.
Yeah.
We're all at home. We need Villanelle and we need Eve.
I mean, it's a weird sort of entertainment, but it's a fun sort of entertainment. And I mean, it's not exactly like they're giving the game away here and being like, oh yeah, by the way, Eve's not really dead. Because, I mean, who thought she was actually going to be dead?
No, I don't think anyone thought that she was going to be dead. And now they're kind of even. I mean, in the first season, we saw Eve stab Villanelle.
Yeah.
Now we've seen Villanelle shoot Eve. I don't think anybody really thought that she was going to be dead. Clearly, Villanelle thought that Eve was actually dead because the look on her face in the trailer when she finds out that Eve is still alive was something else.
Yeah, she's not on board with this idea, at least right now. I think the interesting thing about this is, you say that they're even, and in a way they are, but Villanelle's brain doesn't work like anyone else's brain does. So I don't know what being even really is in a lot of ways. Like, is she going to be more hurt on some level that Eve somehow survived this than she was hurt when she got stabbed in the first place?
No, for sure. I think that when Villanelle got stabbed, she saw it as sort of this potential in their relationship, and her having to kill Eve with this heartbreak that happened. I mean, I don't think that Villanelle is going to necessarily see them as even, and I don't even think that Eve will see them as even, but in a lot of ways, they kind of are, at least when it comes to violence against each other. When it comes to sort of heartbreak between them, they're also in a lot of ways kind of even, because if you remember at the end of last season, we saw Villanelle being strangled by Raymond. Then we saw her sort of manipulate, not even sort of, she completely manipulated Eve into killing him with an axe. So not even just sort of a self-defense kind of murder, like a bloody, gruesome, difficult murder for Eve's very first killing. Then as they're going on, they've escaped, and it's kind of like, okay, these two women have now bonded on the level that Villanelle has been hoping they would bond on. And I think in some ways Eve secretly also wanted to bond on. Then she learns that Villanelle had a gun the whole time and could have taken care of the Raymond situation on her own. So then we had that kind of a heartbreak inside of Eve where it was like, oh my goodness, like she really manipulated me into something that is, murder, something I wasn't really ready for, really didn't want to do. And then we had Eve walk away from Villanelle, where Villanelle now also has a heartbreak because she thought that this was going to bond them together in a way forever, and that their relationship was then going to go on. They were going to move to Alaska together and make spaghetti.
Why does everyone want to move to Alaska? That's the real question here.
I don't know.
I mean, there's a lot of interesting other nefarious TV characters they can meet up with there. Have a big party.
Yep.
But yeah, alas, this is where they aren't. I like to view their relationship as two people who I think they both want to see each other through their own lens, and I don't think either one of them wants to really recognize that they are more similar than they give each other credit for. But it's sort of that they each want to mold each other, and both of them are it's basically trying to mold steel like it is clay, and it doesn't really fully work that way. And I think Villanelle saw something in Eve where she was different than everyone else she had gotten in contact with. But just because she's different doesn't mean she's different enough that she's going to be okay with being made into a killer when there was no reason for it to happen.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why a lot of, I think, this season is going to be Villanelle kind of coming to terms with the fact that while her and Eve have this undeniable chemistry, and now they do have a bond where this first kill has happened because of Villanelle, with Villanelle, that she's going to have to really kind of take a different look into the lens of their relationship, because the thing she thought was going to bond them has not bonded them the way that she thought. And learning that Eve is still alive, I'm not sure then how she's going to go forward with this. Is she going to take another attempt on her life? Does she need Eve to be dead? Or is she going to be more relieved that maybe there's another chance? Because we saw her in the trailer kind of be like, oh, I had a bad breakup, she's dead now, moving on kind of thing. And maybe that was something that she needed in her mind to be like, okay, she's dead, I now have to move on because she's no longer here. Is that gonna then kind of change in her mind where she's like, oh no, she's alive? Okay, now I really gotta make sure she's dead. Or is it gonna be a little bit of like relief? Okay, I didn't actually kill her. Maybe there's a second chance.
I think it's almost the stages of grief situation where she's heartbroken, right? And I think in being heartbroken, you're going to act out, and you're going to try to find a way to just compartmentalize, and when that doesn't work, you lash out. I believe with a lot of fabric of my being that this is going to lead to Villanelle killing other people as a way for her to sort of channel a lot of her rage and her frustration and her sadness, because this is a coping mechanism for her. It's how she operates, and I think that is going to put us in kind of an interesting place at the start of this season, but it's going to, I think, accelerate more when she realizes that Eve is alive. But maybe eventually we'll find a new equilibrium as they start to kind of get into contact with each other again.
Yeah, and this is going to be really interesting for Eve, too, because she's really on her own now. I mean, she had this connection with Villanelle. Villanelle is, for now, the two of them are not connected right now. Then she found out that Carolyn had really betrayed her, that, came in and did this sweep and took everything that they were working on, kind of set her up to be in this situation, to kill this guy off, and now she doesn't have Carolyn, really. I mean, she's really just, we saw in the trailer, just sort of on her own at the grocery store by herself, in her apartment by herself. She doesn't really have anything right now. So I'm very curious to see where she's going to land in this. We saw Carolyn in the trailer, so I mean, she still has a role to play, but is it going to be with Eve?
I think the thing is that Eve is never going to be Villanelle, but I think Eve is also never going to be Carolyn, and I think both Carolyn and Villanelle on some level each have an idea of what they want Eve to be. But I think in the end, Eve is Eve, and she's always going to fall somewhere kind of in the middle, and I think for each one of them, they're going to have to accept that to a certain degree. And I mean, I think for Villanelle, obviously, it's going to be a lot harder, because Eve's directive is still, she's trying to find a way to stop this on some level, even if psychologically there's a part of her that I think pulls her closer to it.
The last person that I really want to talk about, who's someone that's one of my favorite characters on the show, is Constantine. And so one of the things about him, I mean, we know that he's long sort of been a handler of Villanelle, and then he also plays sort of this I don't want to say like a father figure, but in some kind of ways, I mean, he really does care about her. Mm-hmm. And we saw in the finale that he made a deal with Carolyn to sort of get his family back, or have his family sort of in a safe place. And we saw that exchange where Villanelle realized that he had sold her out for his family, and she was really shocked by it because they do have a very close relationship. But he was like, family's family, man. I don't know what to tell you. And she's like, well, I wouldn't know because all of my family is dead. And that's what she thinks. He said something really interesting to her where he basically said, well, most of them are. And it hit her for a second. She was like, what do you mean? And then they kind of went on to something else. So I'm wondering if some of that is going to come into play for Villanelle, because she's kind of on her own as well at this point. The 12 sent Raymond to kind of take care of her and kill her off, and Constantine's off with his family or doing whatever. We did see him in the trailer, so I mean, he's gonna be back. I just don't know in what context, because at this point I would think that Villanelle is ready to kill him too.
And I think it could conceivably happen. I don't think they would do it early on in the season. I think there's going to be some more build here, because if Constantine does have information that Villanelle does eventually need, there's power in that information. He has leverage with that information. It's going to be fun to just see him back. I think, obviously, I would think they would want to keep him as long as they possibly can.
Absolutely. His relationship with Villanelle and that exchange is always really fun to watch on this show. But we do have Eve and Villanelle both kind of in the same interesting position where they're both hurt and broken and alone. A lot of the people that they were working with have betrayed them. So it's going to be very interesting to see where they both land and how they're going to come back together again, because obviously they're going to in some kind of way. The show is about this connection and attraction and chemistry of these two very different but similar women.
Can we also just talk for a second about the cold opens? Because I think they do these. I love at the start of these, we have like these random kills that Villanelle is on. And I can't imagine her in the clown outfit is a big part of the season 3. But it's just, I want to know what the experience is like of trying to figure out the weirdest ways they can sort of put these assassinations into the show.
Oh, for sure. And we've seen some pretty weird ones with the whole pink dress and the pig face, and there's been a lot of strangeness with her outfits in this show. But I'm also very curious to see this whole sort of Snow White thing we had going on, where she's dancing around some empty mansion and opening the windows and singing to the birds. Very, very strange. She is in some denial, and it's going to be interesting to see what Villanelle in denial is like.
It's going to be a trip, everybody. I think we can say that.
Yeah.
I think we can say that about Killing Eve Season 3 overall, but these are our early thoughts. Stick around. We will definitely have a lot more discussion throughout the season, so be sure to subscribe to the channel and give this video a like if you enjoyed it. If you guys do want to support us further, check out the link in the description to the store. Leave your thoughts in the comments, and we will see you here next time.